All right, my G. So, a bit of a mix down tutorial today on layering up your basslines. Imagine if this video was edited, wouldn't it be so much better? But I can't be bothered. All right, it's hot. Anyway, what we're gonna do, without wasting much of your time, is we're gonna turn bass, like a vital bass, into a fully processed bass using bass layering, and in a simple and effective way that's not overcomplicated. And we're going to go from this, I've got sort of a beat here that I've made recently and bounced out, and yeah, so this is the original vital patch without any processing on. And that's one from my last preset pack, Vital Renaissance, which I highly suggest you get if you haven't got it yet, because there's some sick sounds in there. Anyway, the processed version sounds like this. So a lot sort of bigger than... I would say we've gone up something from like 70 or 80% sort of fullness and impact up to 100, like sort of by ratio. And that's the key with layering for me. It's about having that one main sound that's already, you know, most of the way there, because it's difficult to layer up like two separate bass lines like on top of each other that will actually sync up and work together. So obviously this is just one like bass line with one sound. Obviously, you know me, I would bounce out and I would put other sounds in and call and response between them, and have like a certain part of the sound here, a certain part there, and sort of flip back and forth between different bass ideas and different sounds. But in terms of just layering up and beefing up that one particular bass sound that you're interested in, this is the way that I am going to show you how I would do that. And yeah, just to clarify, it is really always about getting that, you know, with things like Vital, you can get a great sound that's already, you know, 70 or 80% there, you know. And there's been many, you know, sounds in my tracks where I've used a Vital preset and I've not even touched it once. I've just used it as it was. So yeah, focusing on your sound design and your synthesis to get the best sound out of the patch to begin with. Yeah, and you won't have to do much layering afterwards anyway. But to go from this, from this sound to this final processed version here, a little bit more exciting, and we've done a bit of sidechaining on it as well in the layers individually. And what I've sort of chosen to do is take the main patch here without any of the processing on. It's just the same as the one from above. And we're basically going to take out the low end and add a new sub, and then we're going to make a new texture to add in over the top of the high end. Now it's important to note that I'm not going to take I'm going to take away the low end to give room for the sub on this sort of main one I've got here. So this is like, yeah, this is the main. But in the high end, I'm not going to take out the high end to give room for the extra high end, because the extra high end is sort of like additional information. It's not like you have to take one out to put another one in. So it's just more on top, because remember, in the high end especially, you've got more space to fill things out and layer them up. And as long as you make the harmonic content audibly different to the original main sound, then it won't cause any phasing issues, and you'll be able to layer in new harmonics into the frequency spectrum that will blend in, and yeah, won't cause any phasing or result in any weakness of the final sound. So we'll go ahead and start processing just with the sub first. So all I've got here is I've got the main. Now the main one, it does have a sub already in, and that's important to note, because you know, you don't always have to replace the sub underneath. This one's got a really good, powerful sub in there already, so it's not super essential to do it, but I've gone ahead and done it anyway, and it did prove to help in this case, actually improve the bass a little bit more. So for the sub that we're layering underneath, all I've done is I've just used a sine wave in Vital at -24 and no settings at all apart from that. So just a pure sine wave. And yeah, we're going to layer that underneath. And the trick is blending them together with the EQ, okay? And for me, I get a much better result when I do a lot of soft EQing rather than going really, really sharp all the way up to, you know, wherever 100. I get much better results when I do some subtle low cuts multiple times to blend it together and find that perfect sweet spot. So we're going to just ignore the side chains for a moment and just blend these two together. So first EQ already on here. So taking out a bit of the sub on our sort of main mid bass. And it's still not enough though, so I'm going to add another one in and do it again here. Just trying to get that kind of sweet spot every time where I'm sort of getting a little bit closer to what I want. And then again, we're going to go, we'll do a couple more here. So I've got another one here. About 70, and then I've got a final one, yeah, also about 70, 71. So I've sort of slowly got there over time, one stage at a time. I've got to a smoother and more subtle carving out of the low to make room for the sub. So they're sounding pretty nice together like that. And for the sub, I'm not bothering to EQ that because it should just be a pure sine wave anyway. You know, if I look on the span, it's not got any high-end harmonics anyway. And even if it did, it wouldn't be much of an issue. I'd prefer to leave the sub un-EQ'd as much as possible because obviously the more you EQ a sound, the weaker it's going to become. So, you know, I'm weakening the low end of this one here to make room for the sub, but by no means would I ever want to weaken the sub with an EQ because EQ does weaken sounds, you know. It takes them away from what they originally were, and the original source form of a sound is often the most powerful version of it. How's it going, my G's? Hope you're enjoying the video so far. If you ever want to support me, you can head over to the link up here for Patreon, and I have a Discord in there at one of the higher tiers you can join. But on the lower tiers, there's loads of cool stuff you can download as well, and it helps me a lot when you support there. Thank you very much, and let's get back to the video. So, next, what I do is we can talk about sidechaining afterwards, but we'll just do the processing of the high layer next. So I'll take my sidechains off here. And all I've done is I've bounced out the main one to create, yeah, just a new version audio file of the exact same bass patch. And now the idea here is to process the hell out of it so that the harmonics are all completely different to the original and then layer it in just in the high end. So there's no right way to go around this. Like, there's so many plugins you can use, but you know, have fun with the most creative plugins in your arsenal at this point to get the sound to become different. So I've got a bit of I'm sort of widening it as well. You can be more experimental with the high end extra layers and go a bit crazier with stereo effects. So I'm doing a sort of Echo Boy random widening delay preset, and then I'm doing some filtering just to introduce like some kind of difference in the whole sort of harmonics of the sound. Then I'm going to do Ruiner, which I love because it just really destroys it, especially when the doom mode is up high. I love that, but it will sort of distort it in a way that it's really affecting the low end, and through that it's distorting all of the rest of the sound, which is wicked, but it will leave you with a load of low end information. So definitely going to have to EQ that out. But firstly, I've got also some more automation here. I've got a really fast tremolo happening, which also is going to really help to completely change the sound. So really fast rate, triangle, tremolo, and also panning left and right a little bit here as well. So it's a bit of a panning and volume tremolo effect, which is really sick. Gives it that grittiness, you know. It's like a natural grit that you can add just by doing a really fast tremolo. So now I'm going to start to blend it back in and take out all of the low end. So I'm really focusing on like sort of around 800 and upwards. Anything lower than that, it's going to start to phase with the mid-range a lot. Like at 500 already, and especially between 500 and down, adding in that layer into the sound again with mid-range in from 500 and lower is going to eat up the headroom of the overall bass really, really quickly. So you've got to really focus on just the highs when you're doing that layering, because remember, the first one is doing already 70 or 80% of the whole impact, so we're really just sort of filling out the bottom with the sub and the tops for a bit of interest in this process, which is quite a natural process how I like to do it. So taking out a bit of lows, but I'm going to be taking out some more later on. I've gone to add in a bit of extra high end again, and this is a free plugin that I like, which is Textures by Clark Audio, I think it is. And it's also got a bunch of organic noise samples just to give a bit of extra noise up there. And then I'm going even heavier with the noise, the band pass noise from the Kilohertz Ring mod. Turn the bias and rectify all the way up, and the mix up, and the frequency up, and then you've got this extra like layer of white noise kind of that's blending in with the sound. Because I'm focusing on adding extra interest in the high end, so a lot of it's going to be quite noisy anyway. So next we're going for more EQing, taking out some more of those mids and lows, so around 900. So now we're really coming to that final finished high end kind of texture. I just got one more EQ, doing a little bit more sculpting here with taking more lows out again. So you will notice, that's why I love the channel EQ in Logic, because it's not eating up any of my CPU. I can put loads on, and as a painter or a producer, whichever way you like to do it, I like to brush all of my sounds very, very subtly and smoothly, and lots of times to get the final detail of the track to be more quality, because I've done less extreme EQing, so the quality is as close to I'm just rambling, aren't I? As close to good as it can be. Yeah, good. That's the good word. Right. So finishing up, then we're going to add in our side chains. But what I've actually done by sort of separating the sub and getting that quite nice and clean down there, and having this high end in as well, which I'm sort of taking down a bit in the mix. I'm actually sort of going to volume balance them all as well, and so I've actually chosen to sort of gain up that main one even more. Now I've sort of separated them out. Because even though we're layering it up, you still got to think of it as like, what's the priority layer, and the other two are sort of like additional layers. Now, really, the sub is a super priority because it's got the low end in, but like the whole expressiveness and interest is like happening in the mid range always. So that's my main layer is still the big one. So I'm kind of pushing that harder than the rest, Well, especially than the highs. The highs are definitely going to be a bit lower here. That's quite a good balance. So playing that with our drums again here. Already sounds cool, but we can take it one step further now and do some side chaining. And cool thing about having the layers done differently is that you can side chain them in varying amounts. So that's one good thing about doing it like this. It's not essential to do it this way round though, because like I said, I've done loads of tracks with just one vital preset without any layering. So, and then, I would just sidechain it, very precisely, and it would be absolutely fine. But if you've done this, then you have the option to sidechain the layers separately, should you want to. So realistically, the sub is going to be the one sidechained the heaviest to the kick. So you can go and give a nice, big, massive chunky sidechain, dipping it all out here for the kick. Yeah, really, really heavy. And then I can copy that over to my main layer here. And here I can do it Doesn't really matter where it is in the chain. Like, you can kind of decide for yourself. It was just the way that I was processing it happened to be in the middle, but I could, I'd probably, bring it to the end. Usually I have the side chains at the end. Here just got a really subtle one actually, because it's less important. The sub is the most important one. Here I've just got a bit. Yeah, just taking out a bit of volume for that kick to cut through. And then the highs, I've actually sort of gone the other way and gone more extreme. So the highs are sort of doing what the sub is doing, almost at the same level. And again, there's no right or wrong, but I like the energy that it gave by really doing a dynamic sucking sidechain on the high part of the sound. And especially because it's got loads of like reverb and delay on, it helps to give a bit of a longer gap for that to come off, so that the sound is a bit more dynamic and less sort of sustained the whole time with all that delay on it. So yeah, there's no right or wrong with that, but as long as the sub one has really been dipped out enough so that the kick weight can come through, that's the main part, then you can kind of adjust the other ones how you like, I suppose. Then all of it goes into a little group, and here just I've done a bit of mid-side. So mostly the sub is in mono already, but we can take out a little bit more of the sides if there's any sort of lurking around the low mid-range here. And if I solo that, will help. But yeah, it's going to tighten everything up together. So it's sort of gluing it together as well. Without compression, we're sort of gluing it together a bit just by affecting it, without even needing to compress. And then on the bass as well, on the group, we'll do a bit of saturation in the high end here. Again, kind of gelling it all together by bringing up those highs of all the layers a tiny bit together. Even if the sub doesn't have any, just the fact we're sort of throwing a couple of plugins on the whole group is going to help, bring things in the same, it's going to help glue things together. And especially the highs and the main one, they definitely, become a lot more cohesive when they've been saturated in the same plugin. So that's the sort of process of doing that. And yeah, that's pretty much that wrapped up, I suppose. I could go ahead and bounce that out. And then I've got my whole new bass, layered version of the bass, all like in one file as well. And so it's like been made to be a little bit more exciting than the original. Okay, so that is something how you can take a vital bass and layer it up if you really, really want to. But remember what I said before, in the fact that you don't have to always do this, because I have a lot of students like more in the beginner sphere, or the constant eternal going around in circles watching YouTube content kind of people. Not judging anyone, but there is absolutely no necessity to do that. You don't have to layer up a bass to get it to become big. You can get a whole big bass or a perfectly sounding bass like within the synth on its own, and then are you even mixing it in properly with your track, would be my first question, before you're like thinking that you have to go out of your way to do this whole layering process. So that's the way that I would do it though, if I really, really wanted to. And yeah, it focuses more on emphasizing the power of what you've already got, and just trying to do those little additions in the bottom end and in the high end that will make it like, that little bit better, but still keeping in mind that that main one should still be the priority. So you shouldn't go overboard with like layering the hell out of it and then causing all these phasing issues and, blurriness in the mid-range, because that mid-range should really be taken up by the one dominant sound that's already there. Yeah, so hopefully that helps you guys out. Hopefully it was a little helpful tip for you today. Peace out, much love, have a lovely day. Ciao.